Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we discuss The Witcher and The Mandalorian, the White Wolf versus the Mando.
What more world disappears inside it? Just another hopeless addict. What that makes a man instead? If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty. I
forgot the name of
almost
our
just said
podcast.
welcome back to Dez and Fox Play, because that's what I say when I record sometimes. Anyway, I am the White Wolf, Fox.
And I am the Mando with a Pando. It's a panda and a Mandalorian.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
Baby Yoda is great, but how great would that be if there was a panda in there?
The Mandalorian.
Mandis. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Fox, I have an important question for you. Over the years, the mass corporations have been learning gamers or got money.
Yeah.
So what are some gaming luxury things that you remember coming out?
I mean, you have the rise in gaming chairs, which are mostly nonsense,
Right.
Except for ones that have speakers in them, which is cool, or but they're mostly just chairs,
Right.
which are way too expensive. Or you have fancy head. Basically, it's anything you already had that's just made kind of looks cooler, like headphones. I mean, I'm sure there are good ones, but I'm sure a lot of them are just you could buy these for much cheaper, but this is the gaming brand or
Right.
whatever.
There's some that I just remember that were I'm so upset, genuinely upset. There was a Gillette Fusion razor. Gillette Fusion gamer razor. And for some reason,
razor.
yeah, it was for gamers. And
Razor for gamers.
Yeah, I can't remember why. And then there's the gaming foods and drinks.
Yep. Oh,
Yo.
What? There's the Game Fuel right now, which is
Right.
Mountain Dew or something like that, or one of those energy drinks.
I think since the Gillette days, Puma has now taken the cake
Okay.
with the $100 gaming shoe.
The one. Wait. Oh! This is what that Penny Arcade comic was about that I didn't look into. Wait, hold on. Wait. That says gaming sock.
It's because it's a shoe, but it's like a slip-on, and it's fabric on the outside.
Wait a minute. What are they selling this on? What's their?
Okay.
And how are they trying to charge $100?
When you're a gamer, what do you need from your shoes, Fox?
To be off, so I'm comfortable.
You're wrong and you're stupid.
I guess I'm not.
You need 3 modes of shoe.
I'm not a true gamer. I think that's what we're learning right now.
You need 3 modes of shoe. There is the medial wrap-up grip, which comes halfway up your ankle.
Okay.
And that is the Seek mode.
SEEK,
Yeah,
and not
SEEK.
SIKH. Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
There is the lateral wrap-up support.
All right.
Attack mode.
Wait. Okay. This doesn't. Neither of these names actually give any knowledge. What does that mean?
And heel wrap-up stability in cruise and defense mode.
Cruise and defense mode.
Oh, maybe there are 4
Wait,
modes.
so that one's a twofer. That one they were able to squeeze in 2 modes with 1 configuration.
I know that if I'm playing a Metal Gear game or something like that, I gotta have it in Seek mode.
Right.
But the moment I'm spotted, I gotta pause the game and switch
you
into
just
attack
switch
mode.
into attack mode.
And then
the last one was cruise and
defense mode.
Defense mode. Okay. That one's if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you put a card in defense mode, that you got to switch your shoes. Also, it's really annoying for everybody else.
I'm waiting for the new ones when they have the trap mode. You've
activated my trap shoes.
Excuse me.
Hold on one
fudging my
second.
shoe.
Give me a second real quick here.
Velcro
Velcro unripping.
I can't it has to be a group of old men in a room sitting in a circle saying, "We sell shoes, and you know what's cool now? Games."
Yeah, probably.
So how can we
we need to get in on this sweet gamer money. Or there's a young guy there who's doing it for the memes.
All right, Fox, it's been like a month since
It's been
we
a good
recorded
long while.
We took a break off for the holidays.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
nice.
for being patient with
It was
us, guys.
nice.
But we are back, and we are better than ever.
No, we're
exactly
maybe a little
the
worse.
same
I don't
than
know.
we
I
were
don't have those
before.
gamer shoes.
We're not as good as we could be.
We could be if we got some of those.
What have you been up to, man?
Well, I got some highlights here. I've been up to a lot, and if I talked about every movie I've watched and all that jazz, it would take a very long time. You don't want to hear that. But the biggest highlight movie-wise, I saw Parasite, which is a Korean movie. South Korean movie.
I've heard about it.
The director of Snowpiercer, as well as several other great movies. He directed this one. This is it won some awards at the probably like foreign language or whatever picture at the Golden Globes. And his speech is really great. He had this great quote where it was like, if you can, paraphrasing, if you can get over the 1-inch barrier of subtitles, your world will be open to so much more.
So true.
Yeah, incredible movie. Like really great like example of, okay, here's what this movie is. Oh nope. It's not that. At one point, it takes a drastic turn in a really cool
way. Kind of
like,
and I'm guessing that Parasite's much better than this movie, although I loved it. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
Speaking of movies that were not mainstream movies, quote unquote, saw the Aeronauts in Amazon Prime original
Man, I wanted to
movie.
watch that.
And I watched it because the previews and what I saw looked super steampunk. And I was like, oh, it looks like it's not. It's just set. It's actually based on a true story set in Victorian America. And because it's set in Victorian America, it looks steampunk.
Right.
But it is really well done. It's balanced with these two people who are doing a scientific expedition in a hot air balloon.
Was
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's him and
Method Man.
And Method Man.
That's Redman and Method Man.
Yeah, no, Redmayne. And
in our 90s hip hop culture.
Yeah, that's right. But I can't remember the gal's name. Dang it. Spacing on it.
Me neither, but she's great.
She is great. They both did fantastic.
I remember
jobs.
She's a great actress, and I was like, I should see that. But then
they are the two main characters, and they do a really good job balancing the actual tension and excitement of this scientific expedition up in this hot air balloon.
Beep, 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 beep. It's time for the Bomb Squad. It's a new segment here on Dez and
garbage.
We are not Dez and Fox play. We are
on the nerdy gritty.
And we are Dez and Fox. The lerdy gritty.
What are you talking?
The lerdy gravy.
Are you
I'm
okay?
having a strunk. This is the Bomb Squad, where we take a ginger and from a distance look at the latest box office failures and learn what they could have spent their money on instead. So I saw Cats. That's the thing I'm also bringing up. Needless to say, all the critics are right. It's terrible. It's a nightmare.
It's
Everything's
like a
bad.
34 meta
It's
score.
so bad
really
in every
bad.
single way. It came out 20 days ago. 20 days ago as of recording this. Budget, $95 million, which was probably mostly just a combination of the star-studded cast and the constant CGI. Because every person is a CGI cat constantly throughout the entire movie. And most of the sets are probably just green screen. So probably all just special effects, and because they don't really go to any sets or any, it's really strange. But $95 million. It has grossed so far, and at this point, basically
$8.
20 days out, really, after about a week-ish, 2 weekends of the movie. You can kind of like tell that's where it's going to stop.
Yep.
But at this point, $54.7 million. It has lost about $40 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. With the $40.3 million that they lost, they could have purchased 3,971 cats, given them to children, and paid for their entire lifespan, shots and food and all of that. And those kids, those nearly 4,000 kids, would have had a really fun like pet to take care of and call their own. But instead, they threw it down the garbage can on CGI wizard cats. There's wizard cats in there. It's really strange. We have to look at this next one from very far away. This is a nuclear bomb. This is a freaking atom bomb going on right here. Did you know that a Playmobil movie came out?
Yes. Well, it was like the Lego movie,
Essentially
right?
the Lego
Yes.
movie, but with Playmobil.
I saw a preview for it and was like, what?
Yeah. Now I'll get into the total gross, but here's the biggest number that you want to know right now. And by biggest, I mean smallest. Domestic weekend. I'm actually going to let you judge domestic opening weekend. Which is where you make, for your domestic gross, for most movies that come out, the vast majority of your money comes from that opening weekend, usually in the States.
Okay.
$75 million budget.
It made $10 million.
Too much. Too high.
Too high?
Yeah.
$7 million.
A little too high still.
$5 million.
$668,000.
What? It made less than $1 million?
Opening weekend made less than $1 million. $668,000. That is, okay, here's some, we're going to get a little fine grain here. 2,337 screens. Or theaters, really. Because varying amount of screens per theater. But it opened in 2,337 theaters in the United States. Most of the theaters around you probably had it. You just didn't know about it. Let's see, that means opening weekend per theater, $285.84. On average, 57 people went to a theater that showed it in the weekend.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Sweet fancy Moses.
I Googled a standard Playmobil set. That was what I Googled.
Yep.
Standard Playmobil set. And it came up with this like playground looking one, really basic, not a whole lot of pieces, $40.
All right.
Meaning they have to sell 1,530,000 sets of the playground Playmobil set to make up the loss of this movie. I don't know if it was good or not. I was not ever interested in seeing it. Thank you guys. That was the Bomb Squad.
The Bomb Squad.
First annual Bomb Squad.
I love that. Annual. We're doing this once a year. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, so back to me because you just took up the past like half an hour.
Yep. It's important.
Yeah.
People need to know these things.
Of course. No, I caught up on Dresden Files, finished reading all of those books, and we talk a lot about the sexualization that they do in that, and I'll just quick say it gets better as you go through it. But what I'll also say is they have, I realized they have action creep. And I feel like that as the books continued, they felt that they needed to get more crazy and more action-y.
Yeah.
I've said before that the power creep isn't really a thing. The power creep, like they introduce a villain in like the 3rd book, and he's also the villain in like the 16th book.
Okay.
But he was just like way more powerful than Dresden in that 3rd book, and Dresden needed a ton of help, and now he's kind of even. And so like they do a really good job with power levels.
Yeah, yeah.
But the amount of action
how many
by
action
this
scenes
last
are in your...
book, I was a little upset by this last book because it is like 0% noir. I also started reading Doomsday Clock, which you lent me.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
And I'm halfway through it. And thus far...
6 minutes to midnight, huh?
Thus far, it's A, very text heavy.
Yeah.
And B...
So is Watchmen.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here. I agree. It did. We talked about this in our like lessons of 2019, but it is an admirable sequel.
Well, that's it for me. Anything else on your side of things? I mean, I got more. Like, I got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas. Shout out to the Robo Sensei. Gave me a Nintendo Switch for Christmas.
Nice,
and I've been playing
Go check out
so
Bakumentary.
much. Yeah, check out Bakumentary if at all, especially if you're into Bakugan.
Yeah.
But Bakumentary on Twitter and on YouTube. Also, I've been playing the crap out of Pokemon Sword.
Yeah, I just finished Pokemon Shield, the main, like the end game story stuff, and it was another Pokemon.
Yeah, I think I'm close to being done. I've got all the gym stuff, and I'm going to the end now. So
there's a surprising amount after all the gyms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I watched some other movies. Little Women, really fun to watch.
I forgot that was even coming out.
It was really great.
All right.
I loved
it.
I started reading the Stormlight Archive again, which is Brandon Sanderson's like epic series. He's 3 books into, I think he's planning 10. And one thing that's standing out to me, I love it. I love the story. I love the world. I love some specific things about it. But one thing that is standing out to me, like you were talking about Dresden Files, he tends to describe female characters a lot more physically than he does male. Mm-hmm. And it's annoying because it is still like both of their physical descriptions usually, unless they're like like in that story, the color of your eyes, like if you're a light eyes or a dark eyes matters. It basically is your rank in life. Your upper class or lower class. That matters, obviously, or your hair color, or sometimes your skin color actually denotes specifically where you're from, because you have different. But he talks about like how form-fitting the dresses that the females are wearing are, and it doesn't really matter. Yep, that's all I got for us today.
All right, and yeah, we're way long on time.
It's fine. It's been weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I have more, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah, let's get down.
Let's get down to that nerdy gritty.
To the nerdy gritty. Hello all, we're just going to take a quick break here before we get down to the nerdy gritty and just talk to you about our Patreon. Now, if you're hearing this, that means you're listening to what we call the short version of the podcast, and just want to point out that after this a little ad break we're having here, the actual nerdy gritty discussion, that is not edited. But as you probably have heard, the before part, the intro where we just talk about what we've been up to, that is. If you'd like to hear the extended version, what we call the director's cut, head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/dezandfox. If you become a tier 2 or tier 3 patron, then you gain access to the director's cut every week, as well as all of the rest of the content we put on Patreon. That's bonus episodes, early episodes, demos that we play. A whole lot of stuff gets put up there. In fact, if you go to tier 3, you can put some input in on what we play. But if you can't get in on that, if you can just support us by listening and sharing and commenting on whatever platform you're listening, then we really appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we will...
This is over a minute, you amateur.
I have failed, and I'm so sorry. Please don't hurt me!
So, this past month, two very anticipated shows came out, one on Netflix, the other on Disney Plus. And we have watched both of them in completion.
Yep.
We have mentioned The Mandalorian several times, but only in saying...
brief moments.
But only in saying that we will talk about it more later.
Right.
But when Fox and I we haven't talked too deeply about it because we want to do it on the podcast, but as we were talking about The Witcher and The Mandalorian, we both agreed that we really, really enjoyed both of them, and for very different reasons.
Yeah.
And so today we kind of wanted to talk about why we enjoyed these shows, why they're so different from each other, things maybe we didn't like, and just kind of like talk about each of them next to each other. Take a look at it. I know at the beginning we said versus, but we're not.
No.
I don't want to say which one was better or worse because I don't know if I could say that.
I mean, I enjoyed one more than the other.
Right.
But I think they both accomplished their goal very well.
Right.
So, and that's what we're talking about.
So, I'm just going to kick this off to you right now. Fox, in fact, I'll just say from the very beginning, you just said you enjoyed one more than the other.
Did.
Which one and why?
I enjoyed The Witcher more.
Okay.
Because Star Wars was working from the Mandalorian was working from a place of a disadvantage for me.
Right.
Where I've not really been a fan of what Star Wars has been putting out for a couple of years now. The movies have been disappointing. Jedi Fallen Order was kind of lame, actually. And the more I play it, the more I dislike it. But The Mandalorian was good, but The Witcher I've always loved.
Yeah.
The games were incredible, the books are really great, and I have read them multiple times. Like, I'm deep in that lore, and I can catch all the little references and stuff. Star Wars, I can't really do that a lot of times, because I don't watch Star Wars, or haven't watched it as much as you probably. And so, basically, The Witcher I liked more because... I just love The Witcher more in general, and I was much more willing to say that was good. I do think it was.
Stop right now. Spoilers.
That's 100% spoilers.
We're going to spoil.
I'm going to get into those
spoilers.
We're
going to spoil, yeah. I enjoyed The Mandalorian more.
Sure.
For basically the same thing. I am like richly invested in the Star Wars
I don't like
lore.
the word, but if we have if we have fandoms,
yeah,
then you are a Star Wars fan and a Star Wars stan, and I'm a Witcher stan.
Right.
I'm Stan the Witcher.
So that's the most boring Witcher name in the world.
It's from the House Cat school of Witcher.
He's Stan the Witcher accountant.
He's the accountant at Kaer Morhen.
Okay. No, we don't have time for this garbage.
Yeah,
for our funny stuff.
Yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah, we
do. That's the point.
Okay, so to me, I like The Mandalorian because it was in a genre, but it was not that genre. And it's a sci-fi show with hints of fantasy in it because Star Wars has
never been sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a sci-fantasy show or movie lore. But this show was not even really sci-fi or sci-fantasy.
Right.
This was a Western.
Yeah.
And it was a cool Western. And exploring a Western is something that we haven't really done in the mainstream for a long time. So
there have been Westerns, but...
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got like Tarantino with like Hateful Eight and...
But when did Hateful Eight come out?
A couple years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I see.
Years
okay, sure. It's not the 1960s where every show on television is, Bonanza or Gunsmoke or,
And what I really enjoyed about it is we went back to that. The Witcher was this 1970s spaghetti Western type. There's the lone hero, and he's the good guy.
The Witcher?
And not the Witcher, sorry.
I was like, no, the Witcher is a noir.
Yeah. The Mandalorian was just this, I'm the lone gunman, and I'm the good guy.
Hunter.
Yeah, and I'm gonna
he's
do
not,
what's
not
good
the good
for
guy
the sake
necessarily.
of good. But he's noble, and he
has a code that he follows.
And at no point during it, though, do they make that code what people would generally call immoral.
No. No. There's you can justify all of his actions that
he's doing noble things
for the most part.
Exactly like you'd expect from an old spaghetti Western.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know the term spaghetti Western, a bunch of Westerns from Italian directors came out at the same time.
Yeah, some of the greatest in the genre,
Yeah.
like Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Sergio Leone. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what spaghetti Western means. Anyway, so it really has this heart to it that you're watching a sci-fi, but with elements of fantasy, but it's really a Western.
It's really a Western.
And it's got all this cool genre stuff that I just fell in love with.
Right.
Queel as like this native person, which you would characterize in that spaghetti Western.
Right, yeah, it would be some kind of, indigenous person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they have the little town that he visits at one point,
right.
And they're the one happy town.
Yeah, the little
he
village.
Wonders, does he want to settle down and be a dad and things like that?
Yeah, the little village that's under siege from the bandits that
bad
come
guys.
through. Yeah, like there's so many. It's essentially a Western painted with sci-fi things, like science fiction things.
Yes,
you can see through it. There's a 1-to-1, like,
and they do it on purpose, much like the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope. Had all of these World War II, like shot for shot, pulled from World War II movies.
Like the bubble gunner, the whatever you call it, from
absolutely,
in the Millennium Falcon, and
this took shot for shots from Westerns, and they're riding horses in the sunset.
He tames one of those creatures,
and it's so
at one point
good. I
really
love
great.
It so much. And also, I love that one. My one complaint about The Witcher was the nudity seemed unnecessary a lot of the times.
A lot of the times, yes,
and. If there's nudity in it and it helps the narrative, fine.
Or it would just make sense. Like, I'm not saying, like, I don't even think it has to help the narrative, but
right. Or it makes sense in some way.
When what's her name is going under that procedure and she's naked, like,
right,
it makes sense.
Right. Yeah. That's just he's reshaping her body, so you're gonna see her body.
Yes.
Right. That makes sense. But there are a lot of other times that it's just like, why though?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will state that there was another time in which there were naked men, but you couldn't see any of their actual nudity, and it hit me like, so we are specifically only showing
fantasy.
Women.
Yeah, it's kind of that trope of fantasy.
Yeah, we won't show naked men, but we will show naked women.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. And so that was my one thing about The Witcher that I was like a little annoyed with. But The Mandalorian, I could watch it with my kids if I wanted to.
Well, yeah, I mean it's Disney. It's Disney. They're not. Yeah, they were definitely going for different audiences.
Right.
With both of these shows.
So I both were fantastic, but The Mandalorian edged out for me just for its number one. Everything in it seemed like it fit. There wasn't anything that I would have considered unnecessary per se, like the nudity in The Witcher.
Well, yeah, of course not. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like this genre bending thing that was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. What I would say would be unnecessary in Mandalorian is, and it definitely wasn't egregious. It was much worse in like Rogue One, where it's just like references to things you recognize.
Right.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff. Like it's this kind of, hey, look, it's that kind of race from that movie, and now it's kind of a victim of its own like fame, because at one point like there's a type of trooper that they show in flashbacks, the Super Trooper is what they call it, I think.
Super Troopers.
Yeah, named after ABBA's 1976 hit Super Trooper.
No.
Whatever, the Super...
Named after the 90s cult classic.
Yes, that
Super
no, that one
Troopers.
took it from ABBA.
Oh, okay.
It all comes back to ABBA.
So Car Ramrod comes in, and
I've not seen Super Trooper, and Super Troopers, and I refuse.
these schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
It doesn't matter. No, that was for me like my least favorite part of it was just
I have two things to say that
little references and like iconography that's just like
fan service.
Fan service, yes, that was my least favorite part of the show.
Here's my defense of fan service.
Sure.
On two things, because number one, I'll wholeheartedly agree with you. There's a point in The Mandalorian when he's literally in the Mos Eisley Cantina, sitting in the seat that Han Solo sat in.
The fact that he went to Tatooine.
And yes, that to me, I was
that
like...
was supposed to be this backwater, like, nowhere thing, and now that's like the third
What are
time
the
we've
chances?
seen it. Yeah.
In a galaxy,
and it was
not just a solar system.
It's completely
galaxy.
pointless. It might as well, just go somewhere that he's already been in the show or something.
And so I will agree, sometimes it went too far.
Yes.
But in defense of fan service for something as big as Star Wars, if you were to go through an entire series like this and not run across anything you recognize,
no, that's what I'm saying. Is it's a victim of its own like ubiquitousness,
right?
Is that you can't not, and also you can't blame them,
right?
Like there are people who complain that they just put AT-ATs in Rogue One because people like them. It's like no, it's a story about the rebels versus the Empire.
Yeah,
like,
the Empire uses.
It's like
these
watching
things.
a World War II movie and complaining that the Nazis are driving tanks. You're like that's what they have.
That's what all of them. The
do
Nazi...
something new, Nazis. No, yeah. So I agree. I 100% understand. And again, there were some little things that were like, oh, that's a fun reference. Like in the last episode when they can't shoot the thing, the stormtroopers can't shoot the thing 10 feet in front of them. They directly reference it. Like, that's great. I like that.
They just look at each other and shrug.
That one was directed by Taika Waititi, by the way.
Yep.
So and it's very clear. A lot of funny comedy in there. What I loved about The Witcher, though, is it kind of the Mandalorian is very accessible.
Yes.
You did not have to know about Star Wars. You did not have to have seen anything else or read a book or whatever to understand it. And also the stories were very basic. Characters were understandable and, a little bit archetypal, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. Archetypical? Is that the word?
Archetypal.
Oh, okay. Anyway, The Witcher was like, nah, we're not telling you anything.
Yeah.
We're diving deep into this Polish book series. I mean, the video game was popular, but this has nothing to do with that. So aside from characters that look different, except for Geralt, and so like they were just like, hey, get on board or get out of the way. Like,
and you know what? I will say, somebody who was not familiar at all, other than some names that I know from the games, I was able to watch it just fine.
Right.
But there were many times that somebody said something or somebody did something, and I would just know that was probably significant. That was
probably a reference, and you probably get it. You probably get that if you've read the books or something. Yeah, 100%. I'm not saying it was like hard to understand. The plot was pretty simple to navigate, but yeah, they were like this little microcosm of this is when he at the very beginning. In the very first shot when he's fighting the Kikimora, the big spider thing, which was awesome looking.
It was really cool.
That story is so good. Anyway, and his eyes are all black, and you're just like if you're watching it, you're just like that's weird. But as a fan, I'm like nice, like oh yeah. And then later it shows him drinking some vials of stuff. Never explains what they do. But you can kind of understand they're probably helping him fight,
right?
Like,
and my wife asked that at some point, and she's like, "What's going on here? Why is he drinking that? Why were his eyes black?" And I'm like, I'm gonna guess it's something that gives him his Witcher powers or makes him more
but
strong.
If you're like me, who's like, okay, yep, he's probably drinking this specific deduction I think it's called like a concoction or something. He's like that gives him enhanced, reflex. It's like, yeah, okay, I like that. I love that they didn't explain it, but they didn't need to. It was good fan service where it enhances if you have watched, but doesn't detract if you don't know.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I also love the unapologetic timeline manipulation.
Ooh, okay.
Go
ahead.
I understand a sticking point for some people. I love that they resolved it after about 4 episodes.
Yes.
Like, because at first I was like, if this is just a straightforward narrative, this is going to be strange.
Yes.
This is not going to make any sense. But then they kind of resolve it, and they go back in time to when Geralt's at that like the feast with Queen Calanthe and all that. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. Yep, I'm on board. I love this.
That was episode 4.
Yes.
And I was watching it on my own, and in The Witcher's defense, I was watching it on my phone on an airplane, so I wasn't getting very like full immersion or anything like that. But I hit episode 4, and I was like, wait, what?
Huh? Yeah.
What?
Wait a minute, she's dead.
So confused.
She's supposed to be dead right now.
And then I was talking to my wife just kind of about it, and she's like, that sounds interesting. And I said, oh, let's watch it together. And I started it over with her.
Okay.
And especially, guys, if you want to hit episode 4 and then start the series over again, you'll enjoy those first 4 episodes more.
Yeah.
You really, really will. And so I watched it again with my wife, and it was much easier to understand and comprehend. But she, watching it for the first time, had a lot of wait what's that I had to explain to her because I'd seen them already.
Oh, you should have just let it go.
And well,
if she wants to know, then sure. But
she's the type of person that asks questions during a movie, and I always say,
she's the devil incarnate.
She's heard probably a million times. What's really cool about movies is if you watch them, they answer these questions.
Well, hopefully they do.
So
to me, it's even worse though. Like the harder part is with Yennefer.
Yeah.
At one point, very quickly, she just says, "All these decades, it's been the same."
It's been 3 decades.
Yeah, and you're like, "Wait a minute, you look exactly the same." But as a watcher, I'm like, "That makes sense," because if you've read or played the games, Witchers or the sorceresses famously they are unknown. It's
bodies
unknowable.
Don't age.
Well, and also because magic.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's kind of unknowable how old they are a lot of times. And I was like, okay, I see the timelines now. We're coming back together. I like it.
I feel like there could have been clever writing to really help that. And by episode 4, they're doing that.
Sure.
They there's the Striga that's they're fighting, and there's the king and the queen, or the king and his younger sister, and then they go back to Yennefer, and then there's a queen, and she slaps her children's hand, and she says, "Stop it, Falstead." And that's the king and his younger, but he's a child at that point.
Yeah.
And so you get that. Oh, this is way in the past.
Yeah,
I see that.
They
now.
do that, and I love it.
I
love that.
I love that. They didn't do that for the first 3 episodes, though.
Right.
They just let you believe.
They just let you go, and
for
to a certain point, it didn't really matter. You're just kind of learning, like watching a couple different stories happening.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, to me, it's not a detriment that you don't know that at the start. It's almost just like a kind of moment rather than a what kind of moment. I don't feel like if you know nothing about it that you would be confused. You would just think it's a couple different storylines, and then episode 4 hits, and you're like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. All right. I get what we're doing now. So I appreciated that. I appreciated the show very much.
I love that it was unabashedly high fantasy.
Yes.
And the book is the same as I'm reading it right now, where it is the highest of fantasy.
Yes.
And there's the elves and the dwarves, and I mean, so Tolkien.
They're very Tolkien-y, fantasy elements. But
these days, though, you see a lot of people like wanting to take elements of that, and just like true high fantasy is not as popular anymore these days. But The Witcher comes in, and they're like, "Nah, son, we are the highest of fantasy."
Well, the first Witcher book, it was kind of told in short stories and then compiled, but so it's like from 1991. I want to say it's not a recent thing. It's kind of old.
But either way, it's great for it.
Yeah, and it also involves a lot of politics between different nations, and so it brings some more elements that aren't just Tolkien-esque, as well as a lot of different kinds of folklore input put in there. Like, you got a lot of Polish and that region, that folklore.
So going back to the Mandalorian, this is something that I appreciated about both of them, but I appreciated the part about The Witcher more. Is Star Wars has always had this stark morality system, and that's why Rogue One was so interesting in so many ways, is because it kind of
a little bit
grade that.
A little bit.
You're essentially terrorists. Like these are rebel terrorists.
By one man's what is it? One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian it fits within that whole Stark morality system.
Yeah.
There are the good guys and there are the bad guys.
And every planet in the solar system, in the universe, aligns to that exactly.
No matter who you are, there's the good and the bad, and the bad guys lose and the good guys win.
Yeah, even the bounties that are like the bounty hunter, who usually is going to be a neutral kind of person. All the bounties you go after are perfectly like bad people.
They're bad guys.
There's nobody that's just wanted because the evil empire wants to kill them. Or,
other than Baby Yoda.
Well, that's true.
And
that,
of course,
that does
there is the
bring
one,
that in.
There's the one bounty that is morally neutral or even immoral.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't
potentially.
Do it. He doesn't do it.
Right.
And that's the kind of the theme of the show is he is the good guy standing up for this child, child. And The Witcher, on the other hand, is just painted with moral neutrality.
Oh, that's
and I love
it. It is very like in the very first episode. It's the like there's what the line is something it's basically there is no less. It's still two evils. There's no such thing.
He says when I have to. Geralt says at one point to Stregobor, when I have to choose the lesser of two evils, I prefer not to choose.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's forced to.
Yeah.
And he's
100%.
Yeah, and it's done so well, and they even say, and you will always wonder if you made the right choice.
Yeah.
And they really set the tone for the entire series in that with Ray, what's the girl's name? In the first episode.
Renfrey.
Renfrey.
Yeah.
With Renfrey. The whole situation with Renfrey and Stregobor really sets the tone for the rest of the series of what's right doesn't mean it's good, and what's good doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
And what's wrong doesn't mean it's bad either. Like there are some choices, like Queen Calanthe, I think was a really good example of this, where when you see her in the in series time, she is known as this really good queen that's worked to protect her people and done a really good job and has all these like battle notoriety. But when you see her in Geralt's original timeline, her daughter is like, oh, should I go oppress some elves and stick their heads on pikes to threaten my enemy like you would?
Right.
And you see that she's
wait a minute.
She's done some horrible things, but she's done these horrible things to really protect her kingdom.
Yeah.
Is that good? I don't know.
It's a very good real world situation kind of thing where nothing is ever clearly the right option. That's kind of the hallmark of the short stories in the books. Fun fact, the Renfrey story in the book, it is kind of a twist on the Snow White and the Seven Dwarves fairy tale, where Renfrey is this mutant with white skin and pale red lips and has 7 dwarves accompanying her as a mercenary squad to protect her basically. And like it's just kind of the Swiss. He does that a lot too. There was a short story in the book I gave you that I think it's in that book that they didn't show in the series, but it's basically a twist on Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And so that's fun. But
and even at the very beginning, again with the moral neutrality, Renfrey takes a young girl hostage, and then her henchmen get in front of them, so Geralt has to get through the henchmen to get to Renfrey to save this girl, and he just straight up murders these guys, which, again, a lot of people would see that as a good thing. He's trying to help this girl. At the end of it all, they stone him, they call him the Butcher of Bleviken, and they kick him out of town.
Because they don't understand what just happened. And even if they did, everybody has their viewpoint.
Right.
Everybody has their point of view on what is right and what is wrong, and that's very, very well illustrated.
And so many of the huge moments in The Witcher did that really well, where the Mandalorian is this the right thing? Yes, good. Let's do that.
It is the Mandalorian to me is a really great example of what Star Wars was. The original Star Wars was not original in the least. Aside from just the names that they assigned, like the basic plot though was Empire versus Rebels and good guy versus bad guy.
Yeah, the bare bones of it was a really archetypal, almost Greek mythos type
essentially, and also taking on like the old like serials of just like Errol Flynn, like swashbuckler, kind of good moral guy taking down the bad guy. And this I feel like kind of is a throwback just like that, where it takes like these old concepts and just kind of puts them in this new thing.
And it's better for it.
It's better for it. No, I really appreciate that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing because it's getting away from the monstrosity that Star Wars has become a little bit, and also B, like just kind of being a simple throwback tale like the original Star Wars was.
Right.
And I think that was they crafted it very well. Jon Favreau did an excellent job. He was the writer and like director or like showrunner basically. That guy can do no wrong these days.
I'll say that I am in one of the minorities that really enjoyed all 3 new Star Wars movies. Do I think they're all good movies? No, Rise of Skywalker was not great, but I enjoyed it.
There was a whole lot of hot nonsense in that movie.
A whole lot of hot nonsense.
How is he alive?
There's a Penny Arcade comic after they say
got thrown down a mine shaft and then that mine exploded.
Where they had seen Tron Legacy, and Tycho is like, just let me enjoy this, and Gabe's like, nah man, you gotta let this out. And as if he's vomiting, he vomits out all these things wrong with the movie. That's exactly how I felt about Rise of Skywalker. Like, I just want to enjoy it and love it because it was so Star Warsy. It was so Star Warsy. There was the big bad guy, and the good guys had to save the day, and there was Han Solo, and there were Star Wars moments. Just let me enjoy this.
If you have to turn your brain off to enjoy a movie, it's not a compliment.
And
it's a bad movie.
Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. It was not a good movie.
Okay.
But anyway, so I enjoyed the new movies, but they tried to step into a lot of like a less stark morality. They tried to kind of gray the lines
a little bit
here and there. And I think that's lesser for it. I think that's part of why it suffered. Where, just like you said with the original trilogy, the reason it was so beautiful and good was because part of its starkness, and the Mandalorian did exactly that.
Yeah.
It was so fun for it, and you were always cheering for the good guy.
Yeah.
You were always cheering for the right thing, and then not Giancarlo Stanton, he's a baseball player. Giancarlo Esposito comes in as Moff
bad guy.
Moff bad guy, and he's bad. He's baddity bad.
He's bad man, yeah.
You know, he's super bad man, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
So okay, let's move on to the next part because we got to wrap up here quick. Dislikes about them.
About both?
About both. So I'm going to start. I am begging the world that it was not a lightsaber that Moff bad guy had at the end of Mandalorian. It was
Keep your lightsabers out of my Mandalorian.
It was this black glowy thing. And it looked like
it was a vibroblade.
It was just a vibroblade. It sure looked like because vibroblades traditionally are like knives.
That's what I assumed.
That's what I want. I want that to be it.
Yeah.
I want it to be a vibroblade.
I thought it looked curved like a blade.
A Sith or something like that. I'm like,
this is a bad stop.
Yes,
stop doing that.
Like the Force in this was such a teeny tiny part, and it was this crazy fantasy
it's a cool thing.
What's going on with this child. Ooh. Don't just throw a Sith in there, please.
Yeah,
don't.
I really loved that. Like, everybody's just like, what the crap is this thing? When it's Baby Yoda, and there's like, what is this? Is this a pet?
Reminds me, Mandalorian really helped me assess why, like, you'd think, why is it that there are people who don't know about the Jedi? How is it that 14 years later, people in A New Hope compared to Rise of the Sith, that people think the Jedis are this long forgotten religion? Like, what is going on? And then it hit me, oh, right, this is a galaxy.
It's a galaxy.
Stuff that happens in core planets are just rumors on the outer rim.
I suppose. I do find it weird that a 75-year-old like general in the Empire thinks that this thing that Darth Vader is doing is an ancient religion that's like just nonsense when it like there were millions of thousands of Jedi.
Not do you think Grand Moff Tarkin?
No. I'm thinking the guy that got
young
choked.
Man. He's probably 30s or 40s.
Still,
he was probably in his 20s.
20 years ago, there were hundreds of Jedi that ruled from one of the most populous.
He's from the Outer Rim, though.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah,
it still seemed like bad writing.
But that's what Mandalorian helped me justify that, because here we are on these way far outer planets, and they don't know what the Force is.
Yeah, that's fair.
None of them have any idea. In fact, when we go back to New Hope, when Ben Kenobi tells Luke about the Force, Luke doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
What is the Force? And so we actually see this justification of some people just having no idea what's going on.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, and it was so much better for that. Nobody was ninja swinging any lightsabers or anything
no
like
fancy
that.
choreography that is lame and boring.
There was just this incredible moment where the child sticks up his hand and the big horned beast,
big old horn thing,
comes up,
floats and saves the Mando.
Oh, so cool for that. But if they just try and shove the Force in here, and if they overdo it, if they make the same mistake that the prequels made of trying to overdo it, don't, guys, please don't. Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, that was really annoying. Yeah. What I disliked about The Witcher was some of the acting. I felt like some of it was a little lame and hammy. And I also kind of and it's also weird where I kind of feel like the time kind of manipulation of it was a little to its detriment.
Agreed.
Or just unnecessary, really. I don't know. I love and hate it at the same time, where I think it was cool how they did it, but also I could have really enjoyed just a straightforward narrative. It's a weird combination. Some of the special effects also I felt like were a little weird, especially the dragon episode.
Yeah.
Which that one I felt like could be considered lame, where this guy turns into a dragon. But people don't know about dragons, man. Anyway, but yeah, some of the special effects. We were watching that
episode, and like over the fire, you said gold dragons are the rarest, and I said he's a gold dragon.
Oh, did you?
I just said it right there, and Jackie's like, "What?" And I said, "Dragons can polymorph."
Yeah, people don't know that. They just think they're giant lizards. They do all these kind of things. So, yeah, there was a lot to. I really love The Witcher. I think there were some things. I guess it's just like this weird feeling of, a little cringy on the acting, especially I think. I don't really like Triss in it, and
I did not like Triss in it.
I wasn't a big fan.
I would also say that it was partially the actors, but also I would say partially part of it was so high fantasy that delivering some of those super high fantasy lines, that's tough to act.
Yeah,
it really is. When you have to say that the Blaziken Tower has reached, its lightning or whatever, like I'm just making up fantasy as I go here. Sure. When you have to say that in earnestness and seriousness, that's tough sometimes.
It is
when you're
difficult.
Saying I have to pull my blaster and shoot a guy, that's way more relatable.
It's a lot easier.
And so the writing, I think some of the writing in The Witcher could have been better.
Yeah,
I think they could have really helped their time weird stuff in the first 3 episodes. With like when Triss says, "It's been 3 decades."
Yennefer.
When Yennefer says, "It's been 3 decades," they could have had the gal with her say, 3 decades? But you don't look a day over this. And she says, but we don't, or whatever.
No,
things like,
that would be so lame. That would be so lame. No, but people, just let the audience understand.
But sometimes they don't.
Well, it's on them.
My wife didn't, and it was a detriment for her. She's like,
okay, I get it. Do a little more, but just saying. So just look, it basically would be looking at the camera and saying, "Hey, I look this way because magic still, but I'm older because the timeline's different."
So sure, it doesn't have to
like
be
make
that
it.
stark.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but I understand. Do a little more.
But doing nothing made it confusing at times.
Yes,
and I will say that I would not have enjoyed it as much if I didn't go back and see those first 4 episodes again.
Okay, yeah.
I'll say after episode 4. And you were a leg
after
up
episode
already.
4, you had a new hope for the rest of the series.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
No. You had a leg up because you already knew.
Yeah, I already knew what was going on. I was like, okay, that makes sense. They're doing it the right way.
After episode 4, everything makes sense. They do a really good job in the second half of episode 4 and starting act 2 of episode 4, going through the last 4 episodes. Once you understand the timeline, it makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
But even then, Dandelion, what's his name? Yesker?
His name in the show is Jaskier.
Jaskier. He doesn't age either? ? He didn't look any older at any point. And
no, well, because he's never shown.
He is.
Oh, he's at that. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
And so that was a big hiccup for both my wife and I, because
how did I not think about that?
They show that Yennefer doesn't age, and they talk about why, and they talk about Geralt not aging, but Ciri is there, and they actually do a really good job making Queen Calanthe age. She looks way different as a grandmother as opposed to just a mother. He didn't age at all.
Yeah, man, I didn't even think about that.
And I was like, what? And so we were wondering, oh wait, is he going to turn out to be?
Is he going to be a sorcerer?
A sorcerer or something too? And then nope, nothing.
Nah, he's mostly comic relief.
So when you have to leave it to context clues, but you don't correct all of the context clues.
And I didn't think about that. Dang.
And so again, for somebody who is not familiar at all with the lore, that confused not just Jaskier's character,
Right.
but it made me question what timeline are we in, what's going on right now. And so there were little things like that just, if they would have just said some things a little bit more clearly, it would have helped me as a viewer.
Yeah, that's my last complaint about The Witcher, is that his name is Jaskier and not Dandelion. Why? Dandelion's a better name. If you're going to call Mousesack, call Dandelion.
My only last complaint about the Mandalorian is the one episode with the small town. If anything was filler, that would have been a filler episode.
It was such a filler episode.
To me, it existed to show that he was torn between a regular life
and to get the shock trooper lady in there. But you could have done that
so many different
anytime,
ways.
yeah.
And so that episode, like, to have an entire episode like that, to me was a little bit rough.
Right.
It was a bit of a filler episode, but shock trooper lady, friggin' rad.
Well, she's great.
I love her. I love her as a character.
Yeah, I like all the characters.
Super cool. So yeah. All right. Any final thoughts about Mandalorian and The Witcher?
I've already given you all my final thoughts.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support.
It's good to be back.
It's really good to be back and casting those pods again.
Yep.
Let us know what you guys thought about Mandalorian. Let us know what you thought about The Witcher. And let us know which mode you're going to be wearing your Puma shoe in.
We're going to be sending a pair to one lucky winner. But that's not actually true.
No, we're not.
We're
Don't
not
lie
give
to
them our money.
Thanks again for your support.
Remember, wait, hold on. Every time you forget about this.
I do forget about this. Huge thank you. You go ahead.
Huge shout out to our friends in Granger who provided us their song "All My Friends Have Wi-Fi" and most of my neighbors do too. It's a dope track, and you can get it on Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's off the album Dear Sam. Dear Sam.
I'm
which
alive
is also
again.
a really good song. So, yep, check that stuff
First
out.
time
Go check out Granger. Stop it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Save games, save lives. Bye.
Bye.
My voice sings